Welcome back to Joe Stunner Boxing. David Allen, good old Dave, the White Rhino. He's been looking rather trim lately. You may have seen him. What was it? Was it one of his as-ifs cards recently? He was ringside and they had a few words with him, looking very thin in the face, no gut on him. He's 33 years old, and as the older you get, of course, even if you are a heavyweight, you'll put on weight naturally. He's 6'3", so he carries the weight quite well, but he's looking in shape, and we can't always say that he's been in shape, can we? I mean, when you consider some of the conditions he's been in, even for the Johnny Fisher rematch, he weighed a fair old bit, I think. He's usually he's a sort of 240, 245 maybe, that sort of weight, 240. He has been kind of quite down in weight, in the late 220s at times, but I have to say, he's, mind you, against Fraser Clark, he was way out of shape. That was a couple of years ago, and he retired after 6 rounds, and he looked absolutely terrible, absolutely awful in that fight. He said he had a perforated eardrum, but he was awful in that fight and in very bad shape, and Clark just beat him up, and it was one of those sort of turgid, like watching one guy hit a heavy bag, But against Fisher, he seemed to be revitalised. Fisher, of course, being I suppose promoted by Hearn as being more than just an area level fighter, more than just a gimmick, more than just a guy who sells an awful lot of tickets, which he does, of course, big following in Essex. But Allen, I think he won the first fight against Fisher. He lost a split decision. That was a scandal. That was over in Riyadh. And then in the rematch, he knocked out Fisher in the 5th round. He actually had Fisher down in the first fight in the 5th round also, but this time he finished him off. And that was Fisher's last fight and his only defeat so far. I think he's got 13 wins and that one defeat. But Allen, he's fought a lot of good men. It's kind of a weird career he's had, really, because he's always, well, not always, but usually he lacks a lot of discipline. And then when he does threaten to put together, a nice little run, he ends up bumping into someone who beats him. So, for example, early on in his career, he lost his first defeat was a 10-round decision to Dillian Whyte. No shame in that. Dillian, very good fighter. Then he got stopped in 7 rounds in an 8-rounder against Luis Ortiz. They were back-to-back fights. And the thing that Allen showed in that Ortiz fight is something that's gone right up to the present day. That Ortiz fight was 9 years ago, and he showed that he had a great chin. 9 years later, he's still got a fantastic chin. And then he puts together a few wins, and he lost a split decision to Lenroy Thomas. That was an opportunity to win the Commonwealth heavyweight title. The complete lack of discipline meant that Thomas pinched the fight off him. It was a split decision loss. He could have won that. Such a winnable fight for Dave Allen. Then they had a rematch a year or so later, was it? 2017, 2018, something like that. And there was a head clash, and it was over in the first round, technical draw. Should have called it a no decision, really. No contest rather. But anyway, so Allen, he then puts together a nice little win. He loses to Tony Yoka, by the way, in France over 10 rounds. That was when Yoka was only 4-0, Olympic gold medalist. This would have been 2018, maybe. Loses on a 10th round stoppage and takes a frightful beating from Yoka, who may well have been juicing at the time. There was a lot of suspicion about Yoka missing certain tests and so on. But Dave took a beating in that fight, just like he did against Ortiz. Then he comes back and he knocks out the previously undefeated Nick Webb, who was 12-0 at the time, knocks him out in 4 rounds. That's one prospect he's got rid of. He puts together a few wins. Very much a sort of crash bang wallop, ill-disciplined, weight fluctuate, all that sort of thing with Dave. It's like he seems to thrive in chaos almost. He seems to like the chaos. He seems to want the chaos. But he did score a good win against Lucas Brown, who'd only been beaten once previously in 29 fights. And that was to Dillian Whyte when he got knocked out. And Allen got rid of him in only 3 rounds of a 12-rounder. That was a hell of a result. A body punch as well, knocked him out with a body punch. And then he ran into David Price, got the crap beaten out of him, another frightful beating, and retired after 10 rounds of a 12-rounder. Price's last hurrah, really. And then he strung together another load of, he sort of retired, unretired, strung together a load of fights against no-hopers with losing records, fought Fraser Clark, looked awful, stopped in 6, brought in as fodder for Fisher, and we know what happened in the 2 Johnny Fisher fights. All right, so that's Dave Allen's stop-start, up-and-down career. 24 wins with 19 KOs, I think it is. He's got 7 defeats, 4 by stoppage, and a couple of draws. I don't know. What's that? Yeah, it's 2 draws, isn't it? Because he had the Lenroy Thomas draw. I think he had one against a journeyman very early on in his career, like a 4-rounder or something. But anyway, it really is now time for him to make a move, because he is 33 years old, and he is taking on none other than Arslanbek Makhmudov, who himself in recent years has lost this, who needs him type of tag. I mean, he looks the part. He's 36 years old now, Makhmudov, so he's 3 years older than Allen. But he really looks like an intimidating sod. I mean, he's huge, with 5'6" maybe, based in Canada, but he's actually Russian. He looks like a Bond villain, real nasty-looking sod. But he got exposed, didn't he? I mean, over in Riyadh a couple of years ago by Ajit Kabayel, chopped down in 4 rounds with body punches. I was really surprised about that. I mean, I thought Kabayel was going to be one of those, fighters who sort of won the EBU title and never really built on it. But my God, he came in and looked extremely confident, beat the crap out of Makhmudov, chopped him up. And then 2 fights later against Guido Vianello, who's a very crafty, awkward, good gatekeeper type, he got stopped in 8 rounds. And that was, I think it was an eye injury that stopped him. So he lost 2 of 3. Since then, he's come back with a 1-round win in Canada against someone called Ricardo Brown, who was undefeated in 12, but looked absolutely awful. And Makhmudov just smashed through him. And for some reason, Dave Allen has decided, well, I think Eddie Hearn gave him a few fighters to choose from, and he said, yeah, I'll have him. And this is going to take place at Sheffield Arena. It's going to be in, well, we're already in October now, aren't we? This is 1st of October today, so it's going to be not this Saturday, but the following Saturday, I think it is. So it's creeping up on us. And you've got to wonder, why did Allen take on, that type of opponent, a guy who nevertheless, he's got 19 KOs in 20 wins. I know he's been beaten a couple of times lately, but, well, I'm wondering, perhaps Dave has seen the fact that Kabayel chopped up Makhmudov with body punches. Dave Allen himself is a very good body puncher. Like I said earlier, he stopped Lucas Brown with a body punch. But he is shorter. I think he's shorter by about 2.5 inches, something like that. Shorter range. But Dave he is a thinking fighter. He fought so intelligently against Johnny Fisher. And yes, Johnny Fisher was green, and hadn't fought anyone with the sort of nous and experience of Allen. Scraped through the first fight, got an undeserved decision. I think it was undeserved anyway. And then you're sort of thinking about, Dave probably has matured as a human being, as a person. I think he's become a father. He's married now. He's got a couple of kids now, whatever. That matures you straight off the bat. And probably he's reflected. I mean, I'm only guessing. I've never met the man, but he's probably reflected on his life and thought, okay, I've got some talent here. And I reckon I can gate crash the party and make a few quid here and beat a few good fighters. And despite the fact Makhmudov has lost twice in his last 4, he nevertheless, it would be a good name to have on your record, because he's still got enough left to get rid of most heavyweights. Maybe Makhmudov, what would you call him? Top 15, top 12 heavyweight, maybe? I don't know. It's a matter of opinion. But Allen, certainly, the win against, should have been 2 wins against Johnny Fisher, that's put him into the shop window again. But he needs that, victory over an international name. And even though Makhmudov has lost twice, it would still be a good name to have on your record, and it still might propel Dave up into the, I don't know, top 20, top 15 again. You know, it might. You know what these rankings are like. Some of them are just so bizarre. It's quite possible that we might find Dave Allen, if he beats Makhmudov, in number 5 or something ridiculous. But getting back to the weight, I'm not convinced entirely that the weight is that light is right, as Angelo Dundee once famously said. This was before Muhammad Ali fought Larry Holmes, and Angelo Dundee said famously, you know, they were saying, "Oh, Ali looks great because he dyed his hair and he'd slimmed down, he'd taken a load of diet pills and all this stuff. Oh, he looks great." And Dundee just said, "Light ain't right." And of course, recently we saw Dillian Whyte lose a lot of weight and look aesthetically in very good condition. But what happened to him? Moses Itauma happened to him. And it may be that Allen has got himself fighting fit down to his natural weight, and that will benefit him. Don't forget, a lot of the times when he's sort of retired and then come back for a couple of little small hall runarounds and then been inactive again, you know, sometimes if you've got a lot of miles on the clock, those rests can do you good. But of course, you don't want a training camp to be a fat camp. This is not a bodybuilding contest. This is a fight. And Dave actually said in the second fight with Fischer, because Fischer's a big lad, and no matter what you think of it, him and his limitations, he's a big lad. Dave said, "Well, no, I wanted to come in heavier, you know." And Dave, he's very economical with his punches, but when he's on it, when his mind's right, you can see him thinking in there. You can see him looking for the opportunities, working for the opportunities. You saw this actually years ago against Nick Webb, because he didn't throw that many punches against Nick Webb, but he was trying to set traps, and he has got quite a high ring IQ, Dave Allen. And you could argue that a ring IQ is something that Makhmudov lacks. He is just a sort of brutal caveman, a very brutal caveman, but a caveman nonetheless. So, I think Dave Allen's got a chance of beating Makhmudov, definitely. But I'm not entirely convinced that when people say, "Oh, look at this! Look at he's definitely going to win! Look at the state he's in. You know, he's slimmed down. He looks great. He looks fit." This is heavyweight boxing. It doesn't always follow that getting yourself cut and looking the part is necessarily going to give you an edge, especially over a man the size of Makhmudov. But I don't know. I could be wrong. What do you think? What do you think about this? Is this going to be Dave Allen's another coming out party after the Nick Webb fight and the Lucas Brown fights? Those were 2 good wins where suddenly you're thinking, okay, this guy can put something together. Now we've had the Johnny Fischer fights. Is he flattering to deceive, or can he actually take out Makhmudov, beat him? I don't know. You tell me what you think. Leave your comments below. Thanks for watching the video. And if you like the video, please hit the like button, of course, because they count the likes. No idea why, but they do. Apparently it does the channel some good. And also subscribe as well, because we have, every day we have new videos for you. All right. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you enjoyed the video. Spread the word about Joe Stunner Boxing. I'll speak to you soon. Bye for now.